Hello everyone, welcome to Dinesh QL. My name is Dinesh Priyankara, Data Platform MVP and Business Intelligence Architect. Real-time streaming in Power BI. If you want to get stream data into Power BI reports or dashboard, you have to use a specific dataset. There are multiple types of datasets. This video focuses on push datasets. So let's see how we can use push datasets for showing near real-time data with Power BI reports and dashboard. Let me show you the agenda. It is really important to understand the difference between the standard dataset we have been working with reports and dashboards and the streaming dataset. So let's try to spend 1 or 2 minutes for understanding what sort of dataset we are considering as a streaming dataset. That's going to the first part. And the second part is understanding the types of real-time datasets available in Power BI. Okay, so let's see what types of real-time datasets supported by Power BI and in what cases we have to use these types, right? Once that discussion is done, then I'm going to show you the way of creating a streaming dataset in Power BI. Okay, we have to use Power BI service for that, not the Power BI desktop. And then I'll show you some codes I have written for communicating with my Power BI service. And then, of course, connecting with the streaming dataset I have created and generate some data through code and then push that dataset continuously to a streaming dataset. Okay, that's going to be the second part of the demo. And the last part of the demo is let's build some reports and dashboard and see how we can view near real-time data that are coming from this .NET application. All right, data processing and data streaming. Everyone who has been working with data, they know that data processing is all about converting raw data into meaningful information. Okay, so that's not something new to us. We know that there are 2 ways of processing data. One is, as you see with the slide, the first one is as it arrives. Second one is buffer and process, or simply store and process. Okay, so in that case, what is streaming or data streaming? That is all about the first one. Processing data as it arrives is considered as what? Data streaming. Okay, the second one, of course, if you store data and then process later, we consider it as a batch processing. So if you really think about the way we have been creating Power BI reports and dashboard, we always connect with the repository that has processed data. I'm not saying that we don't apply any transformation. We always apply transformation even if you connect with a repository like data warehouse. Okay, but simply that database, it could be an OLTP database, it can be a data warehouse, right? But we consider that we consider these repositories as a pre-processed data set. But with this video, what we are going to do is we'll be connecting with the source that generates data and then try to get that data into Power BI before it is getting stored in a repository. So we are not going to connect with something like SQL Server or Data Lake or Data Warehouse. We expect data from the data source. Okay. Remember, when we try to create reports and dashboard using Power BI, we always go to the source and get the data. Okay, Power BI connects with the source and extracts data. But when it comes to streaming, it's not something like connect and extract. Power BI expect data. So it's source duty to push data to the Power BI. Okay, right. So let's see the way of getting data stream into Power BI. There are 3 types of data sets that can be used for working with real-time visuals or real-time reports and dashboards. Push dataset, streaming dataset, PubNub streaming dataset. I'm going to take you through 3 slides that explain these 3, but all the demos will be based on push dataset. I'll be creating another demo or another video on streaming dataset as well. When it comes to PubNub streaming, I'll try to create a video, but it's simply calling set of APIs for getting data into Power BI. All right, push datasets. So push datasets is not something you create with Power BI desktop. You know that when it comes to Power BI reports and dashboards, most of the time we use Power BI desktop for creating the model. So we connect with 1 or more sources, bring data to the Power BI desktop file, and then make adjustments, create relationships, and finally we form the data set. We basically refer to this as a model, but once the Power BI model is pushed into the Power BI service, then we consider it as a data set. So that's how we have been working with data when it's come to Power BI reports and dashboards. But here, since we are going to work with streaming data, we have to create the data set using Power BI service. So Power BI service has an option. You can simply go to that option and then create the streaming data set. When you create the streaming data set, there's a radio button that allows you to instruct to Power BI saying, I want to store data permanently, or you can simply say that, no, all I want is just use the current data for visualizing, that's all. I don't need to keep the history. So it is optional, you can decide. But if you decide to store data, then it creates the database automatically. You don't need to do anything. Whenever you enable that option, it creates a database for you and it stores data forever. If you want, you can clear it time to time. I'll show you the way of doing it that as well. But basically, it keeps data forever, right? One advantage of keeping data is, it allows you to create report visuals. You cannot create report visuals if the data set is an empty data set. Okay, so if you store data with the data set, then you can create report visuals. So you can simply create a report and then connect with that data set and then create visuals. All right, when you open the report, or when user opens the report, user will be seeing the latest. Okay, it always shows the latest. But remember, visuals in the report are not animated reports. So you are not going to see a report like, for example, if it is a line chart, you are not going to see that line is continuously getting drawn. If it is a card, you are not going to see that, okay, it continuously erases the old value and shows the new value. You are not going to see animated visuals with reports. If you want to see animated visuals, which mean like, that's what we expect from, streaming data sets, right? Then you have to ping these visuals to dashboard. Once the visual is pinged and once the dashboard is open, it is going to be an animated visual. Okay, if it's a line chart, you'll be seeing that line is continuously getting drawn. If it is something like, let's say card, you'll be seeing that old value is getting disappeared and new value is getting appeared. All right, so that's the difference between the report visual and once it is pinged to dashboard. Okay, same data set, but two different behaviors based on the the layout you have used. When I say layout, I was referring the report and the dashboard. Okay, another good thing with this push data set is, once the visual is pinged to the dashboard, you can use Q&A feature. Okay, you can simply ask questions based on that because it has data. History has been maintained. All right, so this is how you work with streaming data using push data sets. Second type is streaming data set. So this was the first one we saw with Power BI. Okay, so when it comes to streaming data set, it is also something that has to be done with Power BI service. You cannot do anything with Power BI desktop. But what you have to remember is it does not store data. Okay, it stores data in temporary cache just to make sure that animated visuals can be fully shown, right? For example, if you're showing a line chart with couple of dates, Power BI has to make sure that values are there for old dates as well. Okay, otherwise the full visuals cannot be shown. Okay, but it's temporary, so maximum is 1 hour. After that data will be discarded. Since there is no history, there is no permanent data set or no database is getting created, you cannot use streaming data sets for creating report visuals. All right, so this is purely for dashboard. So you have to use dashboard tiles for connecting with streaming data set and then creating visuals. Okay, another thing you need to remember is the source. Okay, the streaming source must send a formatted data set, because you have no way of forming or performing something like sum, average, or sort of aggregation with tiles, right? You need to make sure you get the value as you want, because you are using the dashboard tile, not the report visual. In the report visual, you can simply say, I want to see the count, I want to see the sum, because it allows you to perform whatever the aggregate functions you want to perform, including the groupings. Okay, but here it is not something like that. You have to make sure that the source sends the formatted data. All right, so we see the differences between push dataset and streaming datasets. The last one, I'm not going to spend much time on it, PubNub streaming dataset. So this is completely based on PubNub communication platform. So if you use PubNub communication platform for handling your data streams, and if you want to use data streams available in this platform for creating your Power BI visuals, then you can connect with PubNub SDK and work with it. All right. Okay. Now let's see the comparison between these three types. All right. Now we have already discussed everything. This is just for summarizing. If you want to make sure that you use a streaming data set for visualization, plus if you want to store data, and then which means you can use the historical data for some other visuals, what you have to do is you have to use Push Dataset. Okay, as you see, real-time dashboard tiles, yes, it supports, and data store, yes. Okay, so I was referring data store, right? But if you really think about other data sets types like streaming and PubNub, see, no. So when it comes to real-time dashboards, that's the first one. Okay, as you see, you can do it with Push Dataset, streaming, and PubNub as well. But remember, this is when it comes to Push Dataset, this is only with dashboard. Okay, streaming, of course, it supports only dashboards, and PubNub. See. All right. Okay, so reporting visuals. If you enable historical data with Push Dataset, you can you can have report visuals. Okay, and couple of data ingestion rates have been given for your reference. If you go through Microsoft Doc, you can find all these limitations, and some additional information. Okay, so this is just for making sure that you understand the differences between these three types. All right, we have discussed everything needed, so it's time for demonstrations. So I'll be showing the way of creating a streaming data set, and then I'll show you the code I have written using .NET for generating and sending data. Okay, and then let's see how we can work with reports and dashboards using these real-time data sets. This is a dashboard I have already created. So this dashboard has been formed using two reports. The first report is based on a static data set. It extracts data from Azure SQL database. Second report is based on a push data set or the streaming data set. Okay, so the first three visuals, number of orders placed, total sales for the day, and count of orders, are from my second report, which is based on push data set. So it's a streaming data set. That's why you see that these values are getting changed, and even my line chart is getting continuously drawn. All right, so we consider these visuals as animated visuals, but the other visuals, the last four visuals, are not animated visuals because they are just report visuals based on a static data set. Okay, right. So let's see how we can start something like this. Now, Power BI dashboard continuously getting data for these three visuals, all because of my .NET application continuously insert records. See, this is what happened. I'll show you the code. Okay, so it inserts record one by one. It waits for 3 seconds, 5 seconds. I have written a small code to decide whether it's going to be 3 seconds or 5 seconds or 10 seconds, right? So it waits and insert record. It continuously inserts records. Okay, since this is a push data set with the history value enabled, so it maintains records. That's why I see all these values with this line chart, and not only that, the totals. All right, so how do I start? First thing is you need to create a workspace, and then you need to create a streaming data set. So I have created all these things, but let me show you the way of creating it. So I believe that everyone knows how to create a workspace. All you have to do is just click on new workspace and enter the name and click OK. That's all. I don't think it is something we have to do as a demo, right? But let me go into the workspace I have created. So this is my workspace. You can see I have two data set, current sales and sales. So sales is the one that has been created using Azure SQL database. We don't need to discuss that. So the current sales is the streaming data set. Okay. So if I want to create another streaming data set, how can I create it? So when you're in your workspace, you can see the new button. Okay. If you click on that, the last item is the streaming data set. So if you click on streaming data set, you will be seeing three options. These are the three types we discussed: API, Azure Stream, and PubNub. Okay, so this is a push dataset, streaming dataset, and PubNub streaming dataset. So let's select API, click on next, and let's give a name. For example, I'm going to say sales real-time data. Okay, that's going to be my dataset name. And the next part is really important. What are the values you expect from your stream to your dataset? Okay, remember it has to be sent as a JSON. When it comes to .NET, it's really a simple code. Okay, so you will see it. So you have to say that these are the attributes or the properties I expect from my JSON document. For example, I can say sales order ID, and that's going to be a text. Okay, I can say sales date. That's my second one, and I'm going to say it is a date time. Then let's say I'm going to say it is my third one is sales amount, and I'm going to say it's a number. So likewise, mention all the attributes you get from your JSON, okay, with this list. All right, and you can see it forms a JSON as well, and this is how you need to send. So when you write codes for .NET, you need to make sure that the document is sent like this. See, within curly brackets, all the properties have been mentioned, and it has been encased using square brackets. And this switch, historic data analysis. So you need to make sure you enable this, then only it maintains the history. Okay, let's create it. I'm not going to use it, but let's create it. I'm going to click on create. So my data set is getting created. Now, once a data set is getting created, it shows you something really, really important, which is the push URL. So this is what you have to use for pushing data. Okay, so that has the the ID for your workspace. And if I scroll right, you can see the dataset ID. So this is the dataset ID. Okay, and this is then it's end up with the rows. And then the key for connecting with this. Okay, not everyone can connect to this API. It needs the key, right? So what you have to do is you need to copy this. This is what you are going to use with .NET. Okay. In addition to that, if you want to delete records, okay, if you want to delete records, it is going to be a different API call. So let me show you the docs. If I go to this page, and if you make a search for push dataset delete rows, you can easily find this. Okay, and this is the API for that, right? As you see with the delete command, it says dataset ID. You have already seen it, and the table name. Let's see what's the table name, and the rows. Okay, so this has to be called as a delete API call, right? So you can test it. If you click on try it, then it will connect to your Power BI. You need to sign in, right? You have to connect it to your Power BI, and then it will give you this URL, right? You can simply copy the dataset ID and the table name from the previous one. I hope you remember. So in this case, in this URL, you have the dataset ID. See, this is dataset. Okay, and this is the dataset ID, right? And you can get the table name as well. I'll show you, like when you open the report designer, you can see the table name, right? And the other important thing is when it's come to deleting, you need to have the authorization code or the token, and you can see it. You need to copy this as well. This is going to be your token for deleting records. Okay, so when you have all of these things, you can simply access your data set using .NET, right? Let me go back to Power BI. Now, since we have, in addition to that, you can see the curl code and the PowerShell code. If you really want to use something like PowerShell, you can use this code, all right? So I'm going to click on done, And let's say I want to create a new report. So let's say I want to create a report using my real-time data set I just created. This is the data set. Okay, so if I move the if I click on this ellipsis button, I can see create report. If I click on this, I get this interface. This is something you have seen with even Power BI desktop, and you can see real-time data. Okay, so that's a name given for the table, and I can simply create report visuals. For example, I can take something like let's say column chart. Okay, and then I can configure sales amount to y-axis and sales date to x-axis. Okay, so this is how you create a report, right? Let's have a look on the report I have already created based on my other streaming data set. But before that, let me go into my .NET application and show you the code I have written. Right, see, it is the simple console application. Okay, so I have declared three variables: Power BI push URL. That's the URL we have for the data set. Okay, so see the data set and then the data set ID, and then you have the key. Okay, right. Then I have delete data set URL. So you know the way of copying it. Okay, and you can see that ends with rows, and you can see the table name and the data set. So this is the data set. Okay, and this is the table name. All right, and my third variable is basically the token. Okay, all these were all these are available with the Microsoft document. You can simply connect with Power BI account and get this token generated. Right, so I have the HTTP client, and my main method I call create order. Right, so this is my main method. Okay, we don't need to understand or go through all the codes. What I do is basically I simply call delete part first, because whenever this is, so assume that this is the business requirement. So basically, when someone opens my dashboard, they will be seeing the static data that shows the entire history. But on top of the report, they will be seeing stats related to today. Okay, so my duty is run this console application somewhere around 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so it will delete all the records available in my streaming or the push data set. Okay, because that's what I do as the first part. I delete my records. So when I call this method, I pass my delete URL with the token. Let me scroll down and show you the method. Okay, so all I do is basically create a HTTP client and then call delete async by passing the URL. But before that, I add the token as the authorization code. That's all. So it clears the table, right? So after that, I create multiple records and send. So this is how I create. I instantiate a class called order, right? If I scroll down, I can show you the order class. See, okay, order date, hour, minute, country, product name, order quantity, order amount. So this is my class for order, and you will see that, okay, I have created my push data set based on this. Let me go back to Power BI and show you the push data set I have created for this. Okay, so this is the data set I have created. Okay, so let me click on this and then click on edit. So when I click on edit, you can see the name and see order date, time, country. All these are the names I have used for defining properties of my order class. So I think, if you do like that, that's really easy. First, define the class and then make sure that you use the same property name when you create the push data set. Okay. Right. Let me go back to .NET application. Right. So what I do is I instantiate a new order record. Okay. I instantiate new order record and then I fill my date, time, randomly pick a country. We don't need to discuss those things, and set an amount, random amount, and then I serialize it. Okay, and then call my other function that calls Power BI push URL. Okay, so I'm passing my JSON object based on this, right? See, I serialize it and then I pass it. Let me go to the method. Okay, see, this accepts the URL and the serialize object, right? I add square brackets for this. Okay, I add square brackets for this, and then it's a simple call. That's all. Okay, that's all I do. And when I execute, it deletes the records first. Okay, because I call delete, and then it continuously insert until I stop it. So as you see, this is continuously running. Okay, but the first step is deleting records. So that's all you have to do in order to create the source, or in order to make the source ready for sending data to your push data set. Right? Let's go back to Power BI. Now the data set is ready, and let me show you the report I have created. So let me click on this report. So 3 simple visuals. If I let me click on edit. So this visual, okay, you can see it is based on product name. I just get the count, right? Because all I need is to get the count of records. So then I know how many orders that have been placed, or how many records that have been generated from my .NET application. And this is all about totaling up the order amount, right? So all these are possible because I store data. It has the history. Okay, so it can perform aggregation. Remember, this is a push data set, but if it's a streaming data set, you cannot perform these things. Why? Because you don't have the history. Plus, streaming data set cannot be used with reports. Now, this is a report. So I can simply perform aggregations against data coming from my stream. And this chart is basically a count of order amount and based on the hour minute value, right? So when you see it, right, for example, you will always see the latest value. Okay, not like dashboard. If I go to dashboard, see, I'm seeing the current value, and it is getting continuously refreshed. Okay, but if I go to the report, I see the old value, and if I click on refresh, then I get the latest. Okay, why? Because report visuals are not animated visuals. So I'm not seeing the latest one now until I refresh. If I click on this refresh button again, I can see the latest. If I go to the dashboard, I can see the latest, and it is continuously giving me the latest. Okay, right? So in order to get these report visuals to Power BI, I think everyone knows about it. All you have to do is go to the report, click on this pin visual icon, okay, and then pin it to your existing dashboard, or you can create a new dashboard and pin it. Okay, so that's all you have to do. All right. So I showed the way of creating a streaming data set, and then the .NET application for pushing or generating data and pushing data to streaming data set or the push data set, and how you can create visuals with the report, okay, using push data set. When user opens the report, you're not going to see the you're not going to see animated visuals. You'll be seeing the latest, but in order to see the next one, you have to refresh it. But you can pin these visuals to dashboard to see these visuals as animated visuals. All right, so that's the demo I wanted to show you. Done. So we discussed the way of creating push data sets in Power BI for accepting a stream coming from a source like .NET application. Okay, and then we discussed how to use this data set for creating report visuals and dashboard visuals. Okay, so let's see another video on streaming data set. And if you have any question, please let me know through the comments. I'll try my best to respond immediately. Thanks for watching.